Hafa Day and welcome Mary Torres, who is running for senator on the Republican ticket. You're watching Coffee with the Candidates here at the Port of Mocha. I'm Clint Rigel. All right, Mary, thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much. Hafa Day.
Hafa Day. So one of the first questions that we're asking just about every candidate is sort of why did you decide to run? What were the primary reasons or your inspiration for running for office?
My inspiration, it felt very natural for me to seek public office. I come from a family with a long lineage of public service. My father was a governor of Guam, the last appointed governor, the first elected governor. My brother Felix was also a governor of Guam, and many of my uncles, as I was growing up, were also senators in the Guam legislature. In addition to that, I also spent a lot of time in my adult life serving the island. You know, I've been on many boards, I've done a lot in the community, so the idea to seek a seat in the legislature was just a natural progression, I felt, and I just felt that it was time now. It was a good opportunity at this point in time.
All right. What were the most difficult considerations or things you sort of had to ponder before making your decision to run for office?
For me, one of the most difficult things is I've been married to the same man for 35 years, my husband Bob, and he holds a position with the judiciary of Guam. And you know, Bob and I had done everything together. We went to school together, we worked in a law office together, we've done everything in sports together. And because of his position on the judiciary, he is not able, because of the canons of judicial ethics, he's not able or allowed to publicly endorse a candidate or to be politically biased.
Even if it's his own wife?
Even if it's his own wife, by the canons. And so the decision for me to run was a little bit trickier because I knew that if I were to run for office, I'd have to campaign alone. I'd have to, hit the streets alone. I'd have to stand on my own. And I wouldn't have the luxury or the comfort of having my lifelong partner with me. So it was something that I thought very hard, and I had to drum up the strength to do this on my own, knowing that he's there, of course, when I come home. But unlike many candidates who might have their spouses with them all the time, mine has to stay in the background. So it was a little tough for me.
All right, so now we've talked a little bit about your decision to run and sort of the things that shaped your decision to run. Now tell us why run as a Republican. I guess some of the obvious things, obviously, your father was a Republican, as well as your brother, Republican, but tell us some more about that.
Actually, it goes a little bit further than that. My father was one of the founders of the Republican Party early in the 1960s, and I have fond memories of that. I was a little girl, probably 6 or 7, and I remember that process that they were going through to charter the party to Guam. In fact, he was the person who went to the Republican National Convention in Florida to make Guam's case to have the Republican Party come to Guam. So my roots are very, very deep in the party. In addition to that, I also served as the Republican National Committee woman for Guam for nearly 8 years in the early 2000s. So the family tradition, of course, in Guam, you're very loyal to your parents. I'm very loyal to my father and to his memories. So I clearly keep with the party. And I also serve the party on a national level. So I think that shows my dedication to the Republican Party as well.
I got a few questions that deal with some of the issues that a lot of people on Guam are talking about these days. First of all, medical marijuana. There's a lot of talk about medical marijuana. What is your take on medical marijuana?
I clearly support anything that will help people when they're sickest. And so medical marijuana is a good thing, I believe. And there has been a lot of studies on it that suggest that it's actually a very useful and helpful remedy for people who are ill. But I think that we have to be very careful, though, in Guam, because the regulations that come with it have to be just as stringent and enforced. We can't have a situation where we have a free-for-all in our community and the intentions of medicinal marijuana become abused and they defeat the core purpose for having it. So, in the community, I've been watching it in other jurisdictions. I've even been looking at certain states that have recreational marijuana that's now legalized, and looking at how that's playing out in their society. And of course, it always comes down, I think, preeminently to regulation and what the island will do to regulate it and make sure that that any legalization of marijuana, either medicinally or recreationally, is done in conformance with the regulations, and it doesn't have the effect in the community is not a negative effect. So we would have to be very cautious in that.
All right. Now another issue, minimum wage. Recently the bill was just passed and signed into law, raising the minimum wage. What are your thoughts on raising the minimum wage?
That is a long-standing issue. I think the debate about minimum wage goes as far back as to the days when it was first passed. Clearly, we are concerned about our community, and the idea between a minimum wage and a living wage, it's a difficult thing because you would expect that there has to be a living wage, that our community has, anyone who goes and works should be able to support their families and themselves at a base level. I think on Guam, there are many people that are below the poverty line here. So it is only fitting in our community that we look at ways to enhance the livelihood of people and help boost their quality of life. But we have yet to see what the effects are going to be on the small businesses, and I think until such time that we understand what the true ramifications are on the small business community and other businesses on Guam, will we really know whether it was a sound decision or whether it's a decision that should have been delayed until later. I wouldn't know until the stats come in. But at the very least, I believe that as a community we need, and as legislators, we need to look at how we can improve the quality of life for people. I mean, that's a given, and I'm all for that.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us, Mary. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, Mary Torres running for Senator on the Republican ticket. And I'm Clint Rogel. You've been watching Coffee with the Candidates here at the Port of Mocha in Hagåtña.